Start with an introduction question, something that I would like to maybe pick everyone's brain on. And it's about, where do you think in the region, our environments, our enterprises, how ready are we in terms of AI and advanced analytics and predictive? Maybe Khulud, we can start with some input from you.
First of all, it's a pleasure to be part of this panel today and to join my colleagues into this insightful discussion. So when it comes to AI adoption and AI transformation in specific, with the increasing demand and hype of AI, it became very evident that the attention has shifted, to be honest, towards data management and data availability and cleansing, because with all the research and development and experiments happening at an enterprise scale or in general, it was found that all the POCs and demos and explorations that were happening in the field of AI were having lower than expected outcomes and results because of the quality and availability of data. So I would say the full potential of AI was not possible to be leveraged as expected, which is why people have diverted their attention to looking back at their availability of data and data architectures. And believe it or not, we thought that we were ready with all the data platforms, but we were never ready for this, rapid revolution. So to cater for this revolution, we came to know that we still have to revisit a lot of the prerequisites, look at our technology stacks and reassess our infrastructure and landscape. So I would say that we have crossed some really good miles when it comes to having some data in place, but it's not as ready as we would like to have for the sake of AI adoption.
Thank you, Khulud. Arok, what do you think? What do you think we're doing well, and which areas do you think we need to focus a little bit more?
Maybe I will start with where we can focus more. So I got an opportunity to deploy the big data first use case in 2012 when I was working with Emirates. That was the time we went the first big data use case in Emirates. So since then till now, I have seen UAE is one of the pioneers in big data and then AI, right? So thanks to Sarah and then even Gautam, so they picked up the culture part, so which I'm going to expand a little more further on the culture. So if you see any data on AI journey, so exactly like Gautam explained, it will be the mindset, skill set, tech set, and then data sets. So if you see the first and last, it's completely outside our control, which is the data team, right? So the skill and tech, we have a freedom to change. We can change the people, we can change the skill, we can change the technical tool and platform. But we can't change alone the mindset and then the data sets. So in addition to what Gautam added, so I would like to add one more point or a few more points in the mindset culture. So still I see the biggest challenge is, I'll start with one of my favorite quote, in God we trust, others must bring data. So if you see your companies talking about culture for so many years, but still you see there are a lot of departments or even a single person taking a decision without data informed and data driven, our culture is not reached there. So that's one of the key measure. How do you measure your culture in data or AI journey? That is the key factor which I have to see. Is my company, start from CEO and then even the intern joined for last week or last month, is completely aware about my data readiness and what are the data I have? Is that person can take decision with the data driven? The second problem which I have seen towards that mindset and culture, even in many organizations, which is a grown company, they still see as a data function as a supportive model. So like I think Sarah touched upon the point, so the data function cannot be a supportive model. If you see somebody's coming to your team as a data team, this is the problem I want to solve. Can you give me a SQL, a dashboard, or the model? Then still we are in the culture lacking. So the data leader and team has to be part of the decision and making in the driving mode. So the data function has to be seen as the capability enabler rather than the supportive model. Then the third biggest problem which I want to say is the ownership. So if you see, if you ask one question, in your company, who will be the most person or team will be blamed for quality? Obviously, data team. That's not the true, right? The data team is not the only responsible person for the quality. So these are the three areas which I will say measure how our company is transforming to the culture. We can measure this based on these three parameters in my experience.
Thank you, Rag. Gopi, if we talk more strategy level, so between the three models, centralized, decentralized, federated, hybrid, where do you see the trade-offs? Where do you see, there is no one answer fitting everything, right? But give us an idea on trade-offs. Where should you go and what do you need to take care of choosing one of these models within your enterprise?
Great one. Audible? Hello? Yeah. An interesting one. So almost 2 decades back when we all spoke about data, it was all about BI, business intelligence, reporting, only from a very basic standpoint, like, where we were one among the team under IT, creating reports on whatever tool we call it. But we evolved, if you see the technology landscape and the ecosystem, everything evolved over a period of time. So from a data strategy standpoint, which again, a decade back when we all started speaking about the data strategy, the operating model became imperative to drive the strategy, because strategy is always on the papers, but to operationalize, to make it into reality, that's the whole challenge. I think if you ask me, centralized, decentralized, federated, there is no a single formula which applies for the any organization. So because every organization has its own dynamics, the teams are diversified and they have their own the nuances to play. But the best practice, of course, because data governance or the data management being the core drivers, I think the centralized can be a good start to begin with, and to establish the policies, the frameworks, the strategy. And then once you onboard your data champions or the stewardship across your organization is when we can become an hybrid where federated is the thing, because there's a sense of ownership where the business takes ownership across the data. So that's where you kind of have a partners across the organization and you also empower these data champions across. So this is where again, we are all touch basing upon the data culture, data literacy. So this is something it's a very integral part of your data strategy. And from an operating model, I think we need to be very dynamic, flexible, fluidic in terms of what an organization looks like and how the org flows and the culture and everything, and then we adopt to it. And this evolves. It's not that today I'm centralized and I have to be centralized for the next 5-6 years. You evolve. That's why the data strategy needs to be revisited just like any other business strategy or the vision of the company, and it needs to be evaluated constantly.
Just to add to Gopi's point, for any organization to determine what kind of operating model they should adopt, there are certain key drivers. The first and foremost, what kind of organization you have. Whether it's a small organization, medium size, or big, whether it's a business conglomerate having many different businesses, or if it's just like a single business entity, right? So that determines the basic level of operating model that you should have. The second part being how compliant is your organization supposed to be? There are certain industries like healthcare, insurance, education, which require a lot of compliance. They require a lot of mandates to adhere to. So to start with, you have the centralized model where data governance is with the central data governance team. They decide, they formulate, and they basically propagate all of the data practices, processes, frameworks, policies, so on and so forth. And then you have the federated operating model where the central data governance team still does all of this, but then this is handed down to the individual businesses to implement based on their needs. So there is autonomy from a business side, and yet there is control from that centralized data governance team size. So I would say you should look at what kind of organization you are, what kind of culture you have, and what kind of compliance mandates you have. And based on that, you start maybe small, start with centralized, then go to federated when you are more mature, and then maybe take a hybrid approach if you have grown more in the maturity area. So I think you should you should have a stock take of where you are, what maturity level you are at, and then decide the way forward.
I like how you also said it's really the first criteria that you chose is really the size of the organization. And I think we all been in situations where you're super flexible, super agile when it's a one entity, company, team, everything is centralized. You have the capacity, you have 5, 6 data engineers, 5, 6 data scientists that could cater for a smaller business. And then it grows and then you cannot keep up. And I also like the comment about what Gautam said, data literacy from the business side. And again, I don't like to use the term business and IT or business and data, but the operational literacy and then the data literacy, it's common as well. So we need to learn about the operations, and operations need to learn about the data, and this manifests a lot in federated model, specifically in the federated model. Very good. Khulud, if I ask you about the cost of infrastructure, cost management, having the flexibility to cater for AI, real-time analytics, and would you find that balance on giving that flexibility but being cost cautious and effective as well?
Well, from our side, to be honest, we've been engaged with different customers in the market, and we've been exposed to different business needs when it comes to, yes, adopting AI and latest applications of AI. The question always comes back to the infrastructure cost and what infrastructure setup should we opt for. And it has been challenging for business to decide on this because they are on the stage where they are still also setting their strategies. Don't forget that a lot of organizations are still building their AI strategies. They're aligning their data strategies with that as well. So there is not much of a clarity at this stage on the use case level, AI use case and application level. So from that comes the ambiguity of, shall we go on a cloud model, for example? Shall we start with a cloud model and then shift to on-prem? Shall we start with on-prem? How is it? Like, what's the best practice in this case? Depending also on the data availability, as my colleague has mentioned, also centralized, federated structures, architectures. This all plays towards deciding if you would like to start with a cloud model first. And to focus on the cost aspect of this, we have been working with some clients where we have introduced the cloud model to start with, and there is a pay-as-you-go model. That's a different commercial talk. But when it comes to infrastructure, you can always start with cloud for a bit of like immediate, I would say, adoption. If you have immediate requirements to play around and experiment with your AI applications, and be flexible with scaling up or down, as opposed to having permanent on-prem deployments where you will have to do proper sizing, and for the sizing you have to know to do proper designing and development of the AI use case. So what I would say is you can start to leverage on the cloud model for short-term cost efficiency. I wouldn't say long-term, because long-term cloud is also, yes, you have to consider the cost aspect of this. So for the short-term, yes, just to give the organization a bit of a kickstart, and then as you mature with your strategy development and your alignment of your teams and all the awareness and capability building, you will then be ready to size this for proper on-prem deployment, which will introduce for sure long-term cost saving.
And I think we all agree also, it's one of the toughest challenges is defining an ROI on data products, right? Who haven't suffered from this? And again, value realization, what Gautam said, it's one of the toughest challenges within is I build a use case, I build an AI model, talking with the CFO, okay, how much money did you save me? Oh, okay, run the numbers, and again, it translates into IT infrastructure cost, cloud, etc. Arok, if we talk more on the same topic, so now, since we start into value, what are the efforts, what are the key takeaways that you would tie your data strategy to the broader business strategy and go and try to bridge that gap when it comes to value realization?
It's a very complex question. I don't think we have a straightforward answer for this question, but I'll try to answer my experience. So to continue where Khalud stopped there, for the ROI. So if you speak to many of my friends, they always think data function is the costliest function in the department, right? So I don't know why it's only for data function. If you're working in a real estate, you're building a 10-story building. So first 2 years or 3 years, we're going to build the construction of the building. And then it will take another 1 year to fill the flats. So it's almost 3 years we are spending our money with hoping that ROI will come after 3 years. Exactly the same mindset we have to spread in our organization. So you are building a foundation, the same concept of the building and construction, after a certain period of X number of months and years, it's going to add a value. How is our important challenge of our data leaders? So as a data leaders, we have to convince CEOs and on the company leaders, I'm going to spend this money for now, and these are the promises I'm going to make you as ROI. For an example, it can be a customer happiness. It doesn't need to be, we also understand the ROI is wrong as only $1. Doesn't need to be $1 value all the time. There are some companies, they don't need $1 value, but they need a more customer engagement, customer happiness. There are certain companies need data to be taken a decision where I can expand my business. They don't need $1 value saving. So we are all the times thinking the ROI is only for $1. No, it's much beyond the dollar. So we can bring a more business, we can make customer happiness, we can make a quicker and faster decision. So like that, I can give a simple example in my current organization. So I proved this current organization where I worked when I joined the company. Within 10 months' time, I laid down the data foundation from scratch with analytics capability, and I saved $140,000 per year. It's going to be a recurring cost. So in now, like Khalud explained, thanks to cloud partners, now we have, when I started in 2012 in big data, there was no cloud. It was a complex challenges to bring data and then work with the data on-premises. Now the cloud partners are very much engaged with us to work. We can bring more value, get a free platform for 3 months. They're happy to do that. Again, they are also investing on you by hoping the ROI will come after some time. That's the strategy. We have to start using it. And also, there are a lot of tools nowadays. Even it can be open source. Even I work in fintech company. Still with respecting the data governance and compliance and then policies, still you have a room to adopt your own open source tools within the control and save costs. So like that, the policy and the strategy which I use in the current organization, say goodbye to 3, 4 big customer data platform, I cannot name them, but build that same capability with 2 data engineers, simply 2 data engineers, onboard all the capability into the cloud platform which we have today by using the open source. So we are in that luxury field today. It's still possible, but we need to convince, I'm going to give you today or later, this is the promises.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Aruk. Gopi, if we talk about data governance, data quality, challenges, what do you think within the region, where do you see the biggest challenges in this domain to be AI ready, to be advanced analytics ready?
Again, as Aruk had specifically said, it all starts with your foundational capabilities. So we all speak about AI, the advanced analytics, ML, but again, I remember in the, I think in the last, the Data 2030 Summit by Amin, he had this iceberg stating like, the strategy cuts across. There is like the top things which always it's a buzzword in the market. But what is the foundational capabilities? It's your data architecture, engineering, the data governance, quality, data privacy. So I think as a data team, I mean, we need to enable these, from the enablers across organizations so that there is a sense of a completeness and to ensure there's a consistent data that is being managed because, the data set that you're working on for the large language model aspect, the data set could be asymmetric. There could be a sense of bias based on the use case that we are trying to develop. So are we really mindful while putting into production on a AI use case? So these are all the basic foundational capabilities which acts as a stepping stone, and from here the journey begins actually. So we are talking about data governance, but I think down the line when AI becomes the core driver, which eventually will become, the AI governance is the thing, like, it'll sit about the data governance. So, but again, it goes back to the basics, which is we have to enable the foundational capabilities. But again, from the challenges aspect, it is the adoption. So the business needs to, when there is a use case, there needs to be a sense of awareness among the business that, yes, am I dealing with the right data set, or is it being governed? Do I have the right quality? Am I handling the sensitive data in the right way? Is it not, hope it's in the right, safe hands, it's not getting exposed. So these are all the basic questions, like, which we need to be mindful before making it into the reality.
Saraf, would you like to follow up on the same data governance challenges from your position? Where do you, so adoption is one of the challenges. Do you agree? Do you have another view?
No, I agree with Gopi. There are a lot of challenges when we talk about having governance, management, data privacy, and protection in place. Because the first question business asks is, why do we need this? I mean, we are getting the value anyway out of our data analytics, AI systems and applications. Why do we need data governance? Why do we need data management and privacy and protection? So it's very hard to basically rationalize if you don't have a specific return on investment model that you can showcase to business, because businesses are very cost sensitive. So you have to speak their language, right? You need to go to them with the ROI strategy. You need to showcase, like, for example, if you're talking about building a sophisticated AI system to automate the data processes, or to provide some additional business value in terms of automation or otherwise, you have to talk about the fundamentals. What is fed to these AI models and applications? It's data, right? Is your data in the best shape? Can we rely on your data? Is your data fit for consumption for these AI applications? And they would say, maybe, and then you talk on further. You say, okay, we have identified that there are certain critical data elements from your business side that has these qualities, and we need to properly assess them, make sure they are fit for consumption, they have good quality, and they will produce better impact for your business. And if this is not done properly, then these are the implications that you can have. And talk about the numbers, right? So pick up those critical data elements, attach a dollar value to them. Like, for example, if you do not do this quality assessment, or if you do not regulate your data based on such and such practices, then this is the dollar impact on your business. Talk about sales, right? Talk about operational costs. Talk about compliance, right? So if your data is not compliant to say the legal aspects or the regulatory aspects, then you have the exposure to pay fines, right? That is another financial impact, right? The name of your business will suffer. That's another impact that your business will have. So talk about all of these aspects. Wherever you can quantify the impact, quantify it. Wherever you can't quantify the impact, educate them about how to improve on those areas. Because we are in UAE, and we are lucky as of now that even though there is legality and compliance, it is not enforced as of now. Just like our neighbors, Saudi. They have recently enforced PDPL. NDMO has a framework for them to implement, and that cuts across private and public organizations. We are lucky and unlucky in a way that we do not have such a compliance mandate. Because of this reason, the businesses are on a back foot when it comes to complying and making sure that the data is appropriate. And I would suggest that whenever you are creating a strategy, you plug in all of these aspects, especially the aspects that talk about what is in it for business. Talk about return on investment. Talk about operational excellence. Talk about the business value, and quantify with a number, because that makes the biggest impact on business.
It's not mandated yet, so it's coming. We don't know. I mean, how it's going to hit as well. I think this is something that, look at GDPR, look how it, the impact that happened in Europe. We're preparing for it, but that amount of readiness, I think this is something that we need to work on. We're in data 2030, so let's talk a little bit about the future. Where do you see, what are the next coming opportunities, challenges from here till 2030? What do you think are the next big things?
Well, I think that as you know, the demand continue to rise, organizations will shift more towards sustainable solutions and looking at opportunities to maybe reduce their carbon footprints, because you know these massive AI workloads consume a lot of energy, and different data architectures require maybe redundant data storage, complex data workflows, which consumes lots of energy. So the need for more green data centers will be very crucial to navigate this change, and also ensure that we are still protecting our environment and contributing toward ESG goals and values. This is something that I see it's growing, and talking from a cloud service provider perspective, we are on track, and we are doing lots of efforts to make sure that we are catering for future also demands, and making sure that this is taken into consideration. Another important aspect would be as maybe some of my colleagues already has mentioned, the filling the skill gap, and you know the talent, making sure that right talents are available for this promising journey. We still see shortage of skilled like data scientists and engineers. But the good thing is that a lot of efforts from leadership, and also following the strategies, AI strategy in place, along with other strategies in the UAE, have really led into initiating some regional scale programs where this is like helping to upskill existing talents, and attracting also talents, maybe creating innovation hubs where people find it very interesting to be part of this successful journey. So I see that the focus on sustainability aspects, having the right skill sets in place, and maybe also continuing to develop hybrid options for infrastructure, cloud, adoption, also to continue provide flexibility, because as we progress, we and everyone, all businesses are discovering that maybe AI needs today will not be the same AI needs tomorrow. So who knows, maybe we need to upskill our infrastructure capabilities even more. So mainly it is sustainability, people and technology from my point of view.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Thank you, Khulud. Arok, 2030, challenges, opportunities.
I think you would have heard AI is going to change a lot of people job redundant, right? So this is one of the biggest fear everyone is having. In my experience, if you are a data expert and governance expert, you are going to be more stronger in the coming 2030. Because as we explained, without data and governance and data quality and data engineering and data science, the AI and ML, which comes next. So what you put as a garbage in, comes garbage out. So without data engine, AI cannot enablement. So I also see kind of another, the best way to improve in big data. When the big data industry came, or big data technology came, big data came to solve a particular problem. For example, if you are using earlier Oracle RDBMS database, there was a certain limit is reached, a scalability. You cannot scale more than that. So big data came to solve a particular problem. But when I speak to my other friends and colleagues in UAE as data leaders, so now AI is completely given as a technology, and you have to go and find use cases. That's a kind of wrong culture and practice and mindset which I'm seeing already, which is afraid. I'm really afraid of that. If you are a leader, can influence the company, please ensure that you adopt AI only where needed. Don't adopt AI for a namesake and say we are an AI-enabled company, and then rather than it's going to make your company impacted. So ensure, like we discussed this today, data, governance, because I want to give one small example, if you have time, 1 minute. So I just read one blog a few days ago. So data is so far it's taking a decision, or data-informed, data-driven decision for you. It's not directly impacting the society. But AI and Gen AI is going to directly impacting to the society. For a given example, the blog says about, if we are in healthcare, the doctor is going to use the AI for operation. So if that patient's hand is only left hand, bone surgery has been done. But I read the blog says by mistake the AI did the right hand operation, which comes from the data quality and then data readiness. So it's going to be directly impacting our society in many ways. So we have to be very, very mindful in that. We have to make us a data leaders. Please ensure we have a right readiness for data in AI. Even if your CEOs and companies leaders are forcing you, you should stand up and say we are not ready for AI. So but we have to get ready for AI when we're ready for AI, but don't just use for a namesake for AI.
Yeah, great. Gopi, 2030, any fears? No, I'm just kidding.
So it was well put, actually. It goes back to the basics, like, being mindful, thoughtful. So thanks to the technology, we have the best tech stack upcoming, and it's evolving like nowhere before, like before 5 years, 6 years. So now all we need to do is being like, mindful while onboarding the use case, business use case, and in terms of the adoption. So I don't think we need to keep talking about the challenges. I think that's where the whole the not only on the panel but the whole room here. So I think it's time to involve the business, involve the larger audience across the organizations, and the data literacy needs to be driven. And I think the transformation is there. It's happening because being in this region for a decade now, I'm seeing there is a huge shift in adoption. So in the change management, typically it starts with denial, resistance, the valley of chaos. I think we are passing through the valley of chaos, introducing lots of technologies, the frameworks, strategies, and everything. I think we're just there. I think by 2030, we should be in the exploration and the adoption and the innovation stage aspects of it. And the other aspect from the from the cloud strategy or whatever. So there is two different types of cost. One is from the computing cost and the storage cost. So I think we again need to be really thoughtful about how data is being managed and how it is being stored based on what kind of use cases and how it is fueling the business value to the organization. I think these are all different aspects which needs to be thought through. And data strategy is no more a boardroom discussion. It is going to be org-wide and it's going to be across. I think as the events, as we evolve, I think in the future, now I think we all resonate here as a data practitioners. I think in future it's going to be the larger business audience coming in and adopting to the new ways of working and streamlining their own processes to adopt.
I think we can start seeing it more and more in the events, especially in Dubai. And you could always see heads of functions that are attending data citizens within the practice as well. Thank you, Gopi. Saraf, to end on a high note, 2030, instead of challenges, let's talk about opportunities.
There are great opportunities in terms of AI, primarily in two areas. First is automation, whether it's business automation, operational automation, or automation to do with your technical landscape. And the second is the self-serve capabilities that we can offer businesses, right? But when we talk about opportunities, I somehow inherently talk about challenges. But I will not focus on the challenges. These are the two areas where we need to strive forward. And then we should, first of all, educate business and make them our partners in this journey, right? Let's not build something in AI just for the sake of it. Like most of the organizations are just jumping on the bandwagon saying, okay, fine, we'll be AI ready, we are AI first, but do you even realize why you need AI? Talk about the basics, talk about the use cases with business that highlight their pain points, which actually AI can address through these two capabilities, right? Once you have these use cases, then you embark upon a program of implementation, and that's not just implementing a technology, it's basically implementing a lot of other aspects as well. So I would say we should focus on these two areas, process and operation automation, as well as self-serve capabilities, keeping in mind that we will have challenges, but if you address the basics, I think the rest will follow.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.